Hello everybody, my name is Stratnos, and welcome to This Week in Mythic Plus. This week's affixes are Tyrannical, Inspiring, Necrotic, and also Prideful. This is one of those weeks on the calendar. This is one of those weeks. It's probably not the worst week up there, but it's pretty close for most groups. The only other ones are probably the worst ones, maybe the bolstering Necrotic Tyrannical type weeks. Honestly, maybe just bolstering Tyrannical storming also maybe slightly worse, but this one's definitely bottom three. It's a really tough combo. It's a really tough combo for a lot of tanks in particular, because Inspiring makes it really hard to keep mobs off of you while you're trying to not get hit because you got a million Necrotic stacks. Really powerful effects against Inspiring and Necrotic this week. Things like Ring of Peace, really good, because if you drop down a Ring of Peace, it'll knock the Inspiring mob out, and then it'll actually be able to knock the other mobs as well, and you can effectively CC a bunch of stuff even if there's an Inspiring mob in there. Knock effects in general, grip effects, anything you can do to take the Inspiring mob away from the rest of the pack will then let you use regular CC on the rest of the pack. So that can be something, even just stunning an Inspiring mob and then pulling the rest of the pack away, and then you can AoE stun the rest of the pack, or apply a slow to them. All of that will help, but none of it will make it easy. These are your best weapons against a week that is still trying its best to kill you, and in many dungeons, likely succeeding. Your best bet this week is, if you're at a key level that's low enough where the timer isn't going to cause you too much problems, just slow things down. Do these sorts of pulls where you're like, okay, we'll just pull these two separately, and then these four. We're not going to try and do any sort of combination nonsense. We're going to use stuff like Night Faerns on, regular pulls rather than trying to do something massive with a Night Faern. Those sorts of things in this sort of dungeon. One thing that actually a lot of people don't know, a cool little feature that MDT has though, is the Inspiring mob in each pack will be highlighted with this, you see the yellow circle here, indicating that the Cultist is going to be the one that is the Inspiring mob. So that can sometimes help you plan out what you're going to actually want to do against each pack. For the most part, there's not like a one-size-fits-all answer, but the preferred strategy, in my opinion, is just to focus it down and kill it first if you can. In this pack, for instance, that's going to be a problem because you can't let the Death Speaker free cast, so you probably need to find a way to... the most aggressive strategy would be to just try and fight them at the same time, but keep them far enough apart that the Death Speaker is hittable. The other option would be to do something like CC the Cultist and kill the Death Speaker away from it first. The good news is, anytime there are dungeon-based effects that will CC things, they will work on Inspiring aura mobs. So, for instance, this Night Faern here will stun everything, even if it's affected by the Inspiring aura. It'll also work on Prides. That's true for stuff like Kyrian Spear as well in Spires of Ascension, so you do have a little bit of counterplay against some of the hardest packs. Spires also, this dungeon a little bit buggy, that not all 5 of these mobs are Inspiring here, so you don't have to be too terrified of that, but for most dungeons, the Inspiring little ring circle thing around them is accurate and lets you know what mobs are going to be causing you the most problems. Honestly, I wouldn't blame you for sitting this week out. It's a really tough one. Useful tools are anything that clears Necrotic as well, so Kyrian potions on your tank in particular. Part of the reason that Kyrian tank's so good for Mythic Plus is for Necrotic week. Bop from Paladins, clearing the bleeds that way. Stoneform or Fireblood from Dwarf or Dark Iron Dwarf. Any of that kind of stuff is going to really help in the dungeons where, where there is a mob that is given Inspiring and you're just never going to get it off you and you just have to survive the whole pull. Consider saving potions and cooldowns for that kind of stuff as well. Consider skipping any pull that is just looking impossible to you. Particularly, again, this week is going to be pretty prohibitive for if you are doing keys at a level where the timer is going to be relevant for you. It's probably just going to be pretty prohibitive there because the trash is such a pain and it's Tyrannical Necrotic bosses, right? Those are bosses that will require prides and cooldowns to help kill as well. So realistically, drop the key level a bit if you can. Just do whatever weeklies you're doing. If you're normally doing like 17s, 18s, do them on 15s, 16s. If you're somebody who's trying to finish out your Keystone Master achievement for the end of the season, maybe we wait for next week on that one. Maybe we wait for old Sanguine Quaking Fortified instead of doing Inspiring Necrotic Tyrannical. I don't I don't know what this week is doing here. I've talked about this before. I've had this sort of rant on Twitter and stuff, but I think that a lot of the problem that Tyrannical has in player mindset, a lot of it is earned just by Tyrannical being less fun in a vacuum, but also Tyrannical does not exist in a vacuum, right? It's always next to these other affixes, and Tyrannical just gets weak like this, weak like the Bolstering weeks. Both Bolstering weeks are Tyrannical, including Bolstering Necrotic Tyrannical. So every time you see an affix like Necrotic or like Bolstering, it's always next to Tyrannical as well, and I think that that's, rubbing off negatively on the mindset of Tyrannical, on how it feels in our head. So I think that's something they should look at, either changing these weeks or delivering some nerfs to Necrotic and Inspiring and Bolstering. Necrotic in particular, like you could just they could make Necrotic fall off after a certain amount of time. You could they have this technology where you get stacks, but it doesn't increase the duration, and they could just make Necrotic work like that as well. Inspiring, maybe the aura could turn off while the mob that is Inspiring is CC'd, so if you hit it with a stun, then you can hit everything else with an AoE stun while it's stunned. That sort of thing, I think, would go a long way towards making it less of an outlier compared to some of these other ones. In particular for, for pugs, I think these affixes can be so tough. It is a week where the tank can kind of throw you on the back, throw the group on the back and carry, but I don't know. I think that there's enough of that pressure on tanks already, and this expansion is so kite-focused anyways, and these affixes lend even more to the tank just kind of getting out of dodge and making some threat and then getting out of there. Anyways, that's a bit of a ramble. In terms of dungeon-specific tips this week, if you want to go and watch, I think this is now the third time we've had this affix week since I've been doing this video series, so you should have 12 weeks ago and 24 weeks ago videos that you can go check out for some more specifics if you're interested. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this one. Thanks for watching. Check out my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/ratnose. Blizzard, if you're listening, please release 9.1. Please. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.